Hello and welcome to Ensemble Conversations with me, Mark Kilmurry. This week we have the wonderful, the talented, the superb Sharon Millerchip. Hello Sharon, are you there?
Hi Mark,
Hello.
I'm here. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you doing?
Not too bad.
How's
At home?
Yes, isolation. How is isolation treating you?
I don't really mind the isolation.
All right.
It's been kind of good. We're juggling a few things. My husband owns a restaurant, so,
Yes.
you know,
Oh gosh.
we straddle the arts and the hospitality industry. So,
Yeah, you've got both.
we're both doing a bit of a juggle at the moment. So,
Mm.
and I've got my 13-year-old son who's homeschooling and
Yep.
climbing the wall.
Yep.
And my daughter just did her HSC last year, so she's meant to be headed off on her European gap year trip
No.
in about 2 weeks, but obviously that's not happening either. So
No.
probably doing what everybody's doing, lots of cooking. I've rearranged the entire house, cleaned every cupboard.
I know, it's amazing what you can
Cooking.
do, isn't it? Like cooking.
Yeah.
My son was 12 last week, and he's doing French lessons online and ukulele lessons as well as all the other stuff that he's doing. So it's
Ah!
quite amazing what you can do online. Zoom, the
Yeah,
age of Zoom. Sharon, you have done a few plays with us. You did Last of the Red Hot Lovers, Bombshells, Shirley Valentine, A Picasso, The Appleton Ladies Potato Race. It's funny how they mount up. The first show you did, Last of the Red Hot Lovers, I didn't realise at the time that was the first straight play, as it were, that you had ever done.
That's right. It was such a big thing for me. I think possibly things are changing a little bit now, but because I had a lot of credits in music theatre stacked up. I'd kind of been perceived as only really being able to stick into that lane, and I hadn't really been considered to do any straight plays. And when the ensemble offered it to me, it was such a gift, and I'm forever grateful for that, because I think it invited people to see me slightly differently without the song and dance element. And I've loved it, loved it. And I love working at the ensemble. Yeah, truly grateful for that opportunity, and to you, Mark, and to Sandra, of course.
Thank you. Well, yes, it was wonderful seeing you in those roles. And I didn't realise that there was that idea of there being a difference, I think, between a musical and a straight play. It didn't occur to me. You can do a musical, you can act, and you sing between the acting bits. There's no difference. But I guess there is a psychological difference in doing a musical or a drama.
There is and there isn't. I was always perplexed a little bit why they sort of seem to be mutually exclusive, because my approach to doing a play really is not that different to doing a musical. I mean, obviously with a musical there's you learn big dance numbers and big songs, and so possibly you rehearse slightly in reverse. So you know that when the big number comes up, that it's it's a checkpoint dramatically, and then you have to work backwards to find out how you get yourself there, and how you can get the audience sort of invested in you and believe in you. They believe you so much that in a minute I'm just going to get up and sing and dance, but I still want you to keep believing me.
Yeah.
In terms of investing in character, I see them very similarly.
The same, yes. Yes, so do I. I mean, I'm always amazed at the amazing acting that goes on in a musical. It's just wonderful. And I think the audience go with you into that musical number because of the quality of the acting. That seems to be, the springboard to that. Todd McKenney was talking a few weeks ago to us and saying about the difference between that and that 6 dance lessons in 6 weeks was the first time he'd done a play, and he was terrified. But of course, it's all part of, I suppose, the same essence of where you're coming from in creating a character and being real and being truthful.
It is. I guess Todd and I are similar in that, because a lot of the shows that we've done have been very big shows that have, been tried and tested overseas before they arrive here. So when we take on a role, there's a lot of preconceived, sort of prerequisites attached to that that we have to sort of adhere to. We make them our own, but that there's a very strong template of what the performance wants to achieve. Whereas, you know, when we go to the ensemble and get a script, and you say, well, let's just make this stuff up, and there's a great freedom in that. But I watched Todd's interview, and I found myself nodding and going, yes, I remember what that was like, and thinking I could just go wherever it is that I want to go. I actually remember with Bombshells, with Sandra Bates, that was just such an incredible experience. And I remember in rehearsals thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, and Sandra's not telling me I'm doing it right or wrong. And I was so used to that exchange, whereas Sandra was sort of giving me the opportunity to fly with it, and that was new to me. I remember her saying, "Are you having fun?" And I said, "No, I don't know what I'm doing."
Yes. Well, freedom.
We got there in the end.
You did. Oh, yes, and it was a wonderful, wonderful show. Freedom can be unnerving because you have so many choices; it can almost be overwhelming. Whereas if someone's saying you do that, you step there, you do this, you sit here, you go, okay. You sort of there's a safety in that. So
there is a safety in that, and there's a challenge in that, of course, because they say this is where you have to go and this is where you have to stand. And then you do have to do all of the intricate work to make that completely believable. So it never, ever looks like you've been told this is where you stand. You know, this is how you sing. You never want it to appear that way. So the challenges are different, but equally profound.
Yeah, and the solo, and going from a musical has this huge team behind it, and then going to a two-hander with Last of the Red Hot Lovers, you and Jamie Oxenbould in Neil Simon's classic comedy, where you played 3 roles, and then into a solo performance, Bombshells, where you played how many roles in Bombshells?
6.
Yeah.
And setting my own costumes and sort of doing my own and working out my own props, all that kind of thing was a bit new to me. One-man band.
That's right, one-man band. And then Joanna Murray Smith's wonderful piece, going from character to character and changing in between on your own. That must have been quite daunting when you first went into that rehearsal room. Yes,
although for some reason, chopping and changing those characterizations is something I love doing. I've never really overthought it, I guess.
No.
I just kind of slip on that character and then undress her and then put on another one. It was interesting learning those characters, actually, because the ones that I thought would be the easiest to learn ended up not really being the ones that fulfilled me the most as an actor. I remember looking at the character of Winsome, who was an older woman who sort of experiences this sort of sexual, what's the word?
Awakening?
Awakening, yes. And I was thinking, wow, you know, she's so far from who I am as a human. How do I get there? And yet, I just loved, once I tapped the vein, we were all up. So it's how characters find their way into you.
Yes, it's interesting that, isn't it? Because sometimes, and some characters you can latch onto almost immediately. You know them, you know how they think, you know how they talk, and there's not much in terms of searching. And then other characters that maybe are closer, I find personally when I'm acting much more difficult.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I agree with that. I love accent. I love finding the things that, you know, separate one character from the other. They're the things that really float my boat. Those little challenges.
Yes, and talking of accents, the big one was Shirley Valentine, Liverpool, and a solo performance. So the two, and you had to cook eggs.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. And you got that. And I remember someone coming to the theatre from that part of the world and saying how good your accent was, but you worked on it a long time before you even came into the rehearsal room, I seem to remember.
I did. I'm not a fly by the seat of your pants kind of person. I'm a preparer, probably. I thought that the accent would be quite easy because it's so familiar to my ear.
Mm.
And I guess I'd grown up listening to it on TV and in films and things, and it's such a particular sound that I thought that it would be in there somewhere, and I actually found it much more challenging. And I think in Bombshells, I'd done an Irish accent.
Yes.
They're a little bit similar, so I thought that would be helpful, but it actually ends up being more difficult because
they're very close.
Was tricky. So I worked with Amy Hume, of course, who's just such a fantastic dialect coach. And yeah, I just put in the hours. I just worked on it, and learning that sort of 2 hours of dialogue in it. But, I love it.
Yes, well, I mean, but you had that down. I mean, I think in the first week you knew the whole thing. I was very rarely, sometimes, a little jump to the next thing and you go, oh, no, that's not right. And I thought, all of this. I don't know what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, it worked out.
But it was, I think seeing you work on Shirley Valentine was interesting. It went from sort of apprehension, fear to joy pretty quickly. And then once you got in front of that audience and they loved you, it was one of those experiences I had watching an actor embodying the role, but who actually loved being out there, playing that role. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a lovely observation. Thank you. I guess, you hear it said all the time, but particularly when you're in a one-person show, the person that you're playing opposite is, of course, the audience. So it's all about that chemistry that you can create, that engagement. So there was a layer of the performance and of the play that was probably never going to manifest in the rehearsal room. It wasn't until I got out there and the audience and I made friends.
Yes.
That last element could really fly.
Yes, and those big laughs that you sort of then can mark, almost like the musical number where you wait for the laugh to end so you can continue, and you get to know where those markers are, which helps as well, I think. And the eggs...
Yes, although it trips you up, sometimes you think...
The eggs turned out pretty good, mostly, didn't they?
Mostly.
And you had a good ad-lib when they didn't, I remember. Like, I can't do that. I can't remember.
I blocked it.
It was pretty good.
I do remember one time, considering there were so many lines, I didn't drop many at all, which was amazing.
Gosh,
but no. I did dry in a preview, and I sat there and I thought, I do not know what is next. It just wasn't coming to me, and of course, no other actor to prompt you.
No.
So I heard Steph, our incredible stage manager, was sitting up in the choir box, and I heard this little voice, something like, "Your brother came around."
Yeah, that's right.
Or something, and of course I said the line, and then I said, "Oh yes, Wall's Australian." And of course the audience just burst into love because
that's right. And they loved it.
To talk back to me.
Yeah, the Wall's Australian. That was a great ad-lib. Very funny. I remember I was lying at the back of the theatre then at that point, probably. It's funny, just solo shows I've done before, and that sort of moment of not knowing what you're going to say next is quite curious because it's an out-of-body experience, I always feel. And you're sort of watching yourself going into this moment of could potentially be a sort of car crash on stage, or you're going to get out of it. And there's a moment where you're never sure which way it's going to go. It's quite an interesting experience, not one that I'd recommend, but anyway.
No. Very daunting.
And then there's lovely Melanie Tate's play, The Appleton Ladies Potato Race, that you did for us last year, which is a huge hit. And again, and I remember saying to you at the time, you were playing a doctor, and the fact that you were so real, I completely believed when you were doing this on stage, you were taking someone's pulse. It wasn't just the action, it was the attitude to what you were doing. And I think I asked you where that came from, because it was so well observed. In fact, it reminded me of my doctor, who was exactly like that. It's a sort of busyness, but also a curiosity, but also knowing that what they're doing is checking up on somebody's health while keeping a conversation going. You did that marvellously, and it was a short scene, but you did it so well. You did a lot of research for that, or was that sort of instinctive for you?
No, not instinctive, really. That was sort of hard fought.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I guess that's the imperative, isn't it? You research and practice. I literally practiced the physicality of it so that it was in my muscle memory, so that I could convince that it was completely subconscious. And I'd actually rehearsed it to the extent that ultimately it was a sort of unself-conscious physicality married with the dialogue. And perhaps because my first discipline is dance, so, you know, I grew up in front of a mirror rehearsing things over and over and really getting dance steps into my muscle memory, so that I could perform them at will. And so possibly, I've never consciously thought this, but I've sort of adapted that to everything that I do. You know, the physicality of a character is such an integral part of my characterization. And I don't really break it down in that way, though. You know, I mean, people say, did you go to drama school? I said, well, no, I went to the Johnny Young Talent School, where I got my degree.
Yeah, you did.
So I don't necessarily have a technique to draw on. So all I can rely on is what my natural instinct is. And sometimes that pays off, and sometimes, you know, it leads me down the garden path, and I need to be, you know, guided and prompted by a director such as yourself. You know,
but I think
we fumble our way to the end.
Yes, but I think that the choreography and the dance and your training, it's, as you say, it's very well planned and choreographed. You feel much safer once you know everything that you're doing physically on stage. Then you can fly, then you can have fun, but you need to know where you're standing and what you're doing. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes. The physicality, and also, I mean, you talked about, I came into Shirley having the lines sort of already down, and, you know, possibly, I don't know if that's the right way for everybody to do it, but I knew, and I know that we've discussed this before, but I did know that I had to have done all of that work beforehand, the physicality in terms of my lines, so that they were in there and I could call them at will, and it was involuntary, and you never hopefully caught me trying to remember.
No.
I mean, there's beautiful moments where you see a human try to think of what it is they're going to say next.
Yeah.
And I wanted those moments, of course.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to devote any of my attention to trying to remember something.
Yeah.
I just wanted, I want to be in the moment. So for me, that comes with preparation.
Yeah, preparation and physically knowing what you're doing. I love whenever I'm acting is to actually to know what I'm doing physically, and then I can relax. If I don't know that, if I don't know where I'm standing or what I'm doing, it all goes to hell. But you're doing a bit more juggling with theatre and musical, and also some choreography too. But recently you did Fangirls, which is a mix of the two, and Small Mouth Sounds before that. So that was really interesting too. So you're feeling much more comfortable, obviously, in the acting world, as it were, as much as in the musical world. Yeah,
well, because I think the ensemble has been so wonderful to me and given me so many fantastic opportunities. And then now I've worked for Belvoir and Darlinghurst Theatre, so I'm almost a real actor.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Gosh, you always were. But at 17, that was your start, 17. So from there, all that experience all helps towards whatever you're doing creatively. And as you say, there isn't a huge difference. It's just part of the same stream.
It's absolutely all part of the same stream.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've been doing, of course, is sort of this associate directing thing on a lot of big shows. I'm working on 6 at the moment, and, you know, I worked on Aladdin, and so getting to work on the other side, which is really just an extension of what I do. It's really about perception and reading the audience and crafting a performance, but not necessarily mine in this instance, but helping other people craft theirs.
Yes.
It's all just an extension of what it is I do and what I love.
Yeah.
So just, you got to keep challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. When I printed out the list of awards that I was going to run through that you've won, the printer ran out of ink. So I thought, well, it just was pages. just what does that mean to you? I know it's a recognition, and I know it's the icing on a cake of a performance. But what do you take away from when you get an award? How does that make you feel?
Oh, validation is always nice.
Yeah.
Pat on the back is always nice, of course.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about theatre in particular that is ephemeral.
Yeah.
I always say, it exists in the memories of the people who were there, and there's, generally no record of it beyond that. I mean, at the moment we're seeing a few things that have been streamed, and so we're getting to see things on screen that we don't normally get, particularly in theatre. But so somehow to have this recognition is sort of some tangible evidence
thing.
That
Yeah,
I was there, that I did it, and that some people liked it. So there's half of me that sort of thinks, oh, well, the arts, shouldn't be a competition in that regard. But the other half of me thinks it's quite nice.
Yeah, it's quite lovely. And choreography you're enjoying as much as well. Strictly Ballroom, and then Six recently. So that's something else. It's not new, but it's another tangent to your skills that you seem to be very happy with now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't choreograph Six, but
assistant directing.
So I love that. I wondered if, opening night, would I be thinking, oh, gee, I wish it was me up there? And no. I was very happy to let my girls get up there and fly and
do it.
And be cheering from the wings.
Yeah.
I know that about myself. I don't need to be the person in the spotlight. In fact, the spotlight is bizarrely somewhere that I'm least comfortable with.
I know.
I mean, actors, and we're a mess, aren't we? We can't figure out.
Absolutely.
Or introvert.
Lots of baggage. But assistant directing is interesting, and directing, is that something that you're interested in doing in the future?
Well, I've already told you about how I'm a planner. I'm not a shortcut kind of person. So, I would only really like to take on a directing piece. I think if I felt I really had something genuine to say, and I don't for a second assume that it's easy. I think it's a really difficult thing to do. So I would want to know that I was really ready to do that. So I'm in a learning phase, perhaps.
Yes.
I'm not really a planner.
No, but that's good.
I
think that's fantastic. Just let it happen.
I'm busy. Well, I was busy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, did Six finish its? It didn't finish its course, did it? It was pulled. Yeah.
So we did a fantastic season, sold out at the Opera House. So we're meant to be involved at the moment, touring through until November around the.
Of course. Yes. It was very hard when we were halfway through the David Williamson crunch time, and we just had to pull it, but we managed to film it. So we filmed it that night, and so the people who are donating their tickets, instead of if they cancel, they're donating the money to us, which is fantastic. We were able to show them the film for those who couldn't come to see it and those who donated. So they actually saw some of Crunch Time on film from their living room, and many people wrote and said they were having a glass of wine and some cheese and watching Crunch Time in their living room, which was fantastic.
You'll never get back to the theatre again.
No, that's right. Well, that's right. So it's the new theatre, virtual theatre. So Sharon, there's a lot of things coming up, I guess, once this crisis is over. But is there anything you can tell us about, or is it all a little bit still under wraps?
Well, I mean, it's really conjecture now because, I had quite a big project coming up for later this year. That's sort of yet to be announced, but I really don't know if that's going to go ahead. It's kind of in some weird limbo hiatus.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about the idea, next year, potentially, of the Appleton Ladies Potato Race having, a new life. So we're obviously, got everything crossed for that. I know that there's lots of ambitions for fangirls.
Yep, great.
And so it will be interesting to see where that takes us as well. So there's lots of things to come. Lots of things sort of up in the cloud, as it were. And, we'll see how the pieces come together later in the year.
Yeah, that's right. And hopefully we're all back soon in foyers and on the stage and doing what we need to
Yep.
do. You can only take so much of isolation. Playing Hamlet in your bedroom or whatever it is. You need to be out there and being creative. It's funny, that creative urge. I find I'm drawing more and doing stuff that's writing more, because it's such an instinctive thing, I think, for actors and performers to be creative. And without it, you feel a little bit of a loss.
I think so. I think because, you know, I'm sure that there's lots of industries like this, but I do know it about being a performer in that, you know, the idea of what you do and who you are so intertwined.
Yes.
And once you take away this creativity, this artistic performance element, you know, I thought, oh, gosh, well, then who's left? What is it that I do? What are my interests? Somebody said, "What are your hobbies?" I was like, I think I have to find a hobby.
That's right. No, well, the hobbies is what you're doing almost. It's the love. We're lucky. We do what we love, and what we love is what we do. Yeah. Sharon, fantastic to talk to you as ever. Thank you for doing this for us, and hopefully we'll see you very soon on stage in a foyer somewhere. But thank you for talking to us and being part of the ensemble. Thank you.
My busy schedule. It was great to be here.
See you, Sharon. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you all for watching this week. And next week we'll have another guest. Look out in our social media and for news of who's coming up. And thank you for all our guests who have been talking to me at the Ensemble Conversations. Again, thank you also to everybody who has donated their ticket price. Instead of taking cancellation money, they're donating it for those who can. It means such a lot to us and keeps us here, keeps us buoyant. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.